Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 13 of the F1 1999 career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Japanese Grand Prix, of course, famously the site of Mika Hakkinen winning his second world title over Eddie Irvine. But this season, it's safe to say things are shaping up very, very differently. 3 rounds to go, including this one today, and it's Irvine with the upper hand, a 37-point lead over his teammate Michael Schumacher. Hakkinen, he's not got a shot at the world title anymore. He is mathematically out of it, I believe, as we head into this weekend. But we're still locked into battle with him and our teammate Ralf Schumacher there. It is both Ferraris, both McLarens and both Jordans inside the top 6 here, as we've had a pretty rough run of form in recent weeks. If you missed out on the last video from Monza, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out as well. But yeah, fingers crossed we can try and return, get some good results towards the end of the season. The rumour mill is churning out stories and surprises as we head to the new millennium, so we need to just try and make sure our stock is as high as possible. Well, here we are then, returning to the iconic Suzuka circuit, of course already by the late 90s a staple of Formula 1, having been on the calendar now for over a decade. But yeah, after we left Monza, it kind of marks now a new hopeful start. It sounds ridiculous saying it with 3 rounds to go, but hopefully a bit of a resurgence for the Jordan team. You know, so many tracks through the midway stage of the season have not suited this car, so I'm really hoping Suzuka and Brazil especially should be 2 tracks that play into our favour, even Mexico. But of course, obviously, we have got that monstrous front straightaway as well, so hoping we can try and finish the season with some decent results as we make our way through the Degners. I don't know what I've done with the setup this weekend. The car feels pretty stable as well, with the exception of the hairpin, as proven immediately by that lockup and huge oversteering moment. But yeah, obviously our main battle now is really with Ralf Schumacher, maybe Mika Hakkinen, if he continues to have issues towards the end of the season. I would certainly love to beat out one, if not both, of the McLaren cars. Oh, there we go. Coulthard makes a little bit of an error, so Hakkinen will resume top spot then. So Ferrari clearly with no answer to McLaren this weekend, at least over 1 lap pace, unless we're about to see a Ferrari snooker away pole position down at the Casio Triangle. But yeah, we should have probably been lining up P5 here, but a couple of little errors on our lap are going to compromise us. And as we make our way out of the final corner, nice and easy on the throttle, it is a Hakkinen pole, and it is only P8 for ourselves. Schumacher then at 1,000th of a second behind Rubens Barrichello at the end of qualifying, but you can clearly see when, you know, Ferrari and McLaren don't have the ridiculous straight line speed advantage at a track like Suzuka, Stewart, Jordan, we can match them, we can keep up with them here. So how we're going to get on in the race is anybody's guess. I admit saying we can keep up with them when I was 2 seconds off pole is optimistic, but I think we've got the pace to compete today.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula 1 season. A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula 1 calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Well, yeah, with Ralf Schumacher starting directly in front of me, we need to try and get a good result here, because I am worried after we had such a good first half to this season that Ralf is going to outscore me after the points reset. Also, shout-outs to the guy that is leaving, like, the full points table down in the description below. The main reason why I didn't carry the points on was, of course, loads of drivers moved around teams, but he's did a really, really good job at trying to keep tabs on everything. I try and pin the comment whenever I see it, so yeah, maybe take a look down in the description below, and if you're interested in what the points could have looked like, then I would recommend go taking a look. But ready then on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix. 3 races to go of the season. We need to try and prove ourselves. It is 5 red lights. And his lights out, and away we go. Very, very wheel spinny as Eddie Irvine tries to make a move there. Frentzen will have a look past me there as one of the Benettons I can see storming in towards that first corner as well there. We'll just about hang it around the outside of them and stay just behind Frentzen here as Schumacher unable to make any gains. Speaking of gains though, David Coulthard now ahead of Eddie Irvine in that Ferrari, so he's had a really, really good start here as everyone's struggling for confidence through these S's. This is where we've got the grip and the pace there, as you can see, going clean back around the outside of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but also, yeah, some big Jordan upgrades coming to the chassis this weekend as well that are hopefully going to give us that little bit of extra fight towards the end of the year as we make our way then down in towards the hairpin. Big, big lockup down at the hairpin, and we will end up not able to complete a move there. Still, for whatever reason, really struggling with the rear brakes now in this mod. I don't know what it is, but I just cannot seem to get them dialed in exactly where I want them. As you can see, Schumacher desperately trying to make moves on Rubens Barrichello as well. A little bit further up the road, of course, Rubens getting his first podium of the season back at the Temple of Speed. But all of us just want to try and keep up with Ferrari and McLaren whilst we can. And I think this is where we're gaining most of our time, not even on the front runners, but on absolutely everybody here. We've just got so much grip through this first sector. The higher downforce setups really do suit us in this Jordan car. So a little bit wide there as we make our way down through the second Degner, but we've got to try and find a move on Kevin Magnussen. We've got to try and beat the rest of the midfielders today. Oh, it's almost into the back of Kevin Magnussen again. We didn't struggle too much with rear locking that time though. Going to try and flick the car up then into rich revs here as we make our way out of Spoon. What is the straight line speed going to be like relative to those Stewart Grand Prix cars here? See Jan Magnussen, that car bottoming out so aggressively. Suzuka, such a bumpy circuit, but we get to the inside. Jan Magnussen wants nothing to do with it there, as it is flat out, but certainly not too wide. And we have finally made a move and are up into 7th.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Well, when you think Schumacher and Barrichello, these are not the two you normally think of. But Ralf Schumacher moving up into P5. Both Jordans getting past both Stewarts in a straight line is pretty impressive. Closing in on Rubens Barrichello, though, as we get towards the end of lap 3. Yeah, clearly Stewart had a lot of pace over 1 lap, but struggling just a little bit with their race pace early on here. Are we going to be close enough to try and have a look for a run on Rubens Barrichello? Nowhere near, as we make our way back down in towards turn 1. But it seems like McLaren have certainly got the race pace over Ferrari as well, albeit it is still very, very early on in this GP. But through these S's is really where we are going to come alive this afternoon and hopefully try and gain some places. As Barrichello, though, you can see we can get right up under his gearbox. But getting to him is one thing, getting round him is another much bigger challenge. Come on then, Rubens Barrichello. Hopefully we can try and go for a similar move to what we did to his teammate. Definitely got a lot more straight line speed than those Stewart cars. Are we going to get to the inside, though? That could have been game over. Rubens Barrichello, I mean, we didn't have a lot alongside him, so we probably didn't justify any space. But Barrichello was quite happy to turn in, and that could have been an airplane crash. The problem as well we've got at the moment with all this battling going on with Rubens is I'm just watching Ralf Schumacher able to pull away from me here this time round. So the slipstream effect is clearly very, very sensitive around this venue, because once we're under half a second, we have clearly got the pace over that Stewart. Any further than that, I simply cannot gain Well, currently then, Ralph Barrichello and I are the only drivers outside of Ferrari and McLaren to have scored a podium so far this year, and all of us seems to be leaps and bounds quicker than the likes of Magnussen and Heinz-Harald Frentzen at the moment. Are we finally close enough this time around to get a run on Rubens? No, we aren't. That Stewart car is massively fast now for some reason down the straights. As, oh no, we'll just run into the back of him. Tiny bit of front wing damage. And that is really, really costly then. We'll immediately peel into the pit lane and have to go for a slightly earlier stop over onto the medium tyres to see us through to the checkered flag. I just know how bad the front wing damage is on this game, but just that tiny little bit of contact will make all the difference in this series then. So we're going to have to try and fight our way back through some of the slower traffic as we finally get going once again here, making our way down the pit lane. Marc Genet, Shinji Nakano, we're a long way further back, but we're going to re-emerge behind them. Of course, we're going to lose a load of time as well to Rubens, as we have basically returned out in 19th place then of the Grand Prix. Verstappen, Rossi, De La Rosa right there. But we've now got to try and see if we're still ahead of Magnussen by the time he pits. De La Rosa, we saw this last weekend, able to make good starts and then has zero pace whatsoever around the outside of Jos Verstappen though. So we make our way through the S's. How slow! Oh, does Riccardo Rossi want to be? Oh, this is really, really bad for us. Unable to find anywhere around Riccardo Rossi on the lap as De La Rosa, once again, a little mistake down at turn 1. We've surely got to try and look past them through the S's. Now we've got some temperature in the tyres, and there we go, that'll be one of them. Is De La Rosa going to run into problems as well? He's moving around all over the road, but we'll try and go the long way around there. Send it. Just keep it between the white lines, and we are through. Back into P16. The Menards are a little bit further up the road, but this is really, once again, seemingly turning into a downfall for us. Oh, Jacques Villeneuve then. One of the first cars into the pit lane. Just seen someone else pop back out. That is Jan Magnussen. So that's the gap to him. So we've got yellows out. Someone may be having problems. I think just Jan duking out with the second of the Menards. See immediately though, this works out beautifully for us, because if Magnussen can't find a way around him, and we can find a way around Shinji Nakano, we're hopefully going to be able to rock up to the back of him pretty quickly. We're both going to try and go for a similar move down at the hairpin, but we complete ours. Marc Genet, not going to make it so easy for him, but Jan Magnussen round the outside of the hairpin. You don't often see moves there, but the Stewart driver's done it. Marc Genet then tucked up under the the rear wing even of Jan Magnussen. Not going to get the run down in towards Spoon he would have wanted there. We should have been a little bit braver, but you just got no idea how much speed these backmarker cars can take through that 130R. Oh, try and put the power down as early as possible. This is a critical moment in this Grand Prix. Can we try and get the run on Marc Genet back down towards someone? We got Heinz-Harald Frentzen re-emerging from the pit lane as well. There is Genet's going to send it in. We'll see him running too deep though and make it through. So we've stayed ahead of Frentzen. We've lost one place to Jan Magnussen though, as I believe Ralf Schumacher has re-emerged way up the road. Let's have a look past the AI like that as we almost go into the back of our second Stewart car of the afternoon. Surely we're close enough this time around though to get a run on Magnussen once again, just like we did early on in this race, side by side with the white and tartan livery car. So scared that he was about to turn in on me, so he took plenty of curb, but we have made it through. Hopefully this time around then we're going to see our last couple of cars into the pit lane. Yep, Johnny Herbert and Alexander Wirtz both making it in, so we're at half distance then. The gap to Rubens Barrichello is still 6 seconds. Ralph though, 13 seconds up the road, so we need a second a lap out of him by the end of the race. I feel like once again, we're going to lose points to our German teammate. Taking a second out of Rubens that lap, but we lost time to Ralph. So clearly Rubens here is really, really struggling here, and we might still beat the Stewarts. Stewart, I think, on the hard tyres have got nothing. Well, after that contact with Rubens earlier on in the GP, I'll be honest, if you told me we'd catch back up to him, I would probably not have believed you. I really did think we simply wouldn't have had enough pace or time to take all the time back out of him. But Stewart have really, really struggled on these harder compounded tyres even towards the end of the afternoon. Now as we tuck up inside the wheel tracks once again of that Stewart Grand Prix car, are we going to be able to gain anything to make our way through 130R? We've still got to be careful with the fuel usage towards the end of this race as we just snag the rear brake slightly. Oh, Barrichello's gone nowhere though. Off the exit, the final corner, we can literally see him fighting away at the steering wheel of that Stewart Grand Prix car as we're going to have to swing defensive back down in towards turn 1 here using all the rich revs we've got, but down the inside we'll go. And we have finally completed the move on the Brazilian there. Up into P6 once again. I think sensibly it's probably going to be the best result we can hope for. But I am a little bit conscious as well that these medium tyres might fall off towards the end of the afternoon.
We've lost one of the gears. The transmission is significantly damaged. We're down a gear.
And as soon as I make that move, we've gone and lost a gear here. Absolutely typical of this series. Will we be able to keep Rubens at bay? Normally, yeah, these cars are pretty torquey. So, weirdly, 4th gear actually isn't a bad one to lose. Oh, there we go. End of lap 21. The gear is back, so that's good then. Only cost us right a lap and a half. What we got to try and do is basically build up a bit more of a lead ahead of Barrichello for when it inevitably happens again. Well, it doesn't happen very often in this series, but I guess because we've not seen a safety car or anything like that today, we've actually got to deal with some blue flags towards the end of this race there. Jos Verstappen apparently having a bit of a disaster in his BAR. I must have already lapped someone else, though, because he's in 19th. Because, oh, Eddie Irvine! Eddie Irvine's out of the Grand Prix late on, and I can only assume that's been a mechanical failure for the Irishman. But suddenly, championship hopes have been reignited for Michael Schumacher. Where is Irvine's car? I believe, yeah, if he's hidden somewhere down here. Yeah, that is a mechanical failure, I'm pretty certain. So, heartbreak for Eddie Irvine out of the Japanese Grand Prix with just 2 laps to go. Come on, Mika Salo, please get out of the way for me, buddy. I really do like Mika. I think he was a decent driver. Not in this mod, though, apparently. That was scary. Salo almost completely cleans us both out of the race with less than 2... What is that? Salo's just driven off the road. Thanks, Mika, I guess, but that's a bit odd. As we round the Casio Triangle then to start the last lap of the Japanese Grand Prix, this place was obviously famous for hosting so many title deciders back in the 80s and 90s. It's not quite going to be the case today, but it certainly had a monumental shift in championship hopes there. Although I think David Coulthard was still mathematically within a shot this weekend, I believe he is out of it, and it will once again be a Ferrari driver that is world champion. But with Michael Schumacher winning this race and Eddie Irvine failing to see the checkered flag for, I believe, the first time this season, it is wide open as we head into the final couple of rounds of the season in Mexico and, of course, Brazil.
12.9 seconds.
I think, honestly, the thing that's annoyed me a little bit this afternoon is since we had that gearbox issue, we've actually taken time at David Coulthard towards the end of this Grand Prix. So I think we've actually had a lot of good pace in the car this weekend. But I struggle to see that converting onto the long straights of Mexico next time out. But through the final couple of corners, Michael Schumacher is going to win the race. We've said that so many times about Ferrari this season, but that one is critical for him with his teammate failing to see the checkered flag. We have cut it incredibly tight on fuel by the end of the afternoon there, but it is going to be Mika Hakkinen coming through for P2 ahead of David Coulthard, and unfortunately for us, Ralf Schumacher will once again get the better of me, and we are back to our coveted P5 position that we saw so much earlier on this season. But today, it feels like a bit of a disappointing result. It's P5 and 10 points here in Japan.
That's a spectacular victory then, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
Well, there we go then. Michael Schumacher from worst of the front runners in qualifying to P1 come the end of race day Sunday. That is why you never give up in Formula 1 there. Ferrari, once again, I think that's like their 7th victory of the year. They have been absolutely all-conquering since the reset there, beating out Hakkinen and at DC there with both Jordans, both Stewarts, and then Giancarlo Fisichella getting the better of Heinz-Harald Frentzen there with Wirtz, our final point scorer, ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. And I mean, yeah, take a look at the fastest lap though. We actually went quicker than both McLarens by the end of the race. So I think if we actually had a bit of a better run in qualifying next time out, maybe actually Brazil, we could have a chance of trying to keep up with them towards the end of the season. But that means in terms of the the Drivers' Championship, 12 points. The gap now between Irvine and Schumacher, so it is still in Irvine's court, but there is a lot yet to be decided. Ralph and I now tied on 75 points apiece, so we could leave next weekend out with only each other to battle in the Drivers' Championship there. As you can see, Jan Magnussen gets the jump on Jacques Villeneuve a little bit further down the order as well. Constructors-wise, though, Ferrari have done it. Only 88 points available from the last 2 Grand Prix of the year, so once again, they are Constructors' Champions, I believe for the first time since the mid-80s, based on this alternate timeline as well there. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Mexican Grand Prix.